Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for holding this hearing today. These are exciting times for space. It's exciting to have Jim Bridenstine as our NASA administrator. We're thrilled to have Bob Cabana back to head up the Kennedy Space Center. Thank you for that. It's exciting to have a president that loves space. That's clear. It's thrilling to have a vice president who loves space and heads up the National Space Council and see that active again and moving forward. And it's especially great to see that space is still largely a bipartisan issue, and probably the least daggers in this committee of all the committees in the House. That's really a good thing. Not many things were recommended for an increase like the NASA budget was, and we're all grateful to you for that, and pleased to see that you want to continue to make significant investments in our nation's space program. Most of the increase will go towards the Artemis program, which is wonderful, and I think we're all excited about that. But we do want to talk about some other objectives that are important, and that is ground support systems. We've always, in the past, received strong funding for ground support systems, and we'll work to continue to do that. You can have the best rockets and the best people on those rockets and the best people making those rockets, but if you don't have the ground support systems in place, nobody goes anywhere. And we don't want to be on track for that. And it's a possibility we might be on that track, and we need to make necessary adjustments to that to make sure our ground support systems are going to actually help us go back to the moon and ultimately to Mars. In today's strong economy and the huge job demand, space, like most other industries, is a little bit in a bad spot for recruiting enough skilled workforce people. So we often hear about the importance of internships and apprenticeships in STEM, which the administration's 5-year plan also identified, and just wondered if you'd speak to us about the steps the office is taking and the appropriate federal agencies are doing to support such activities, including those working in skilled trades who don't require a 4-year degree.
No, thank you for that, and you're spot on. One of the things that I talk about, and I really increasingly am seeing in the country, is what I call kind of a seamless STEM enterprise. And so, you know, sometimes research universities would look at a 2-year college and say, you know, well, kids that come to the university are not very well trained, so we have to do a lot of remediation. We need to all work together. We need to all lift each other up. And so, for example, I did a visit recently down to Virginia to a company that builds all the nuclear reactors and fuel and everything for our our Navy submarines and ships. The people that were working on doing incredible things with welding and so on, none of them had a 4-year degree. They were all skilled tradespeople working with incredible computers. So things like apprenticeships, these programs, working very, of course, the National Council of the American Worker, the reskilling and upskilling of individuals who might be a traditional arc welder with an acetylene torch now will be running a computer, and you say, well, gee, is it going to displace that person? No, it's going to put them to a new level of economic earning, because we still need their skills in operating that equipment, because they're still welding at the end of the day. The robot's not doing it all on its own. There has to be somebody there guiding it along. And so I think this is tremendous opportunity with these industries of the future, AI and advanced manufacturing, 3D printing and things like that, will really enable a lot of capability. So the apprenticeships programs, the skilled technical workforce, the National Council of the American Worker, the Pledge to the American Worker that Ivanka's championed, 15 million, you know, upskilling and reskilling activities are really extraordinary. And, you know, so STEM is not just going to college and getting a STEM degree, it's the whole enterprise. And somebody who's getting, say, in a skilled technical job, maybe goes to a 2-year school, maybe later on they get a 4-year degree, but if they don't, they can come out starting to make $70,000, $80,000 a year. That's a pretty good living. And so I think the President's been very, very clear and strong on this point of making sure that we don't disenfranchise those folks, but, for example, we continue to support that type of activity, because we need a whole spectrum of skills in this country.
Well, I'm very pleased to hear you say that, and an economy where you have more job openings than you have people looking for work increases the economic value of every single person in the workforce. And of course, we want to continue that.
Right.
I see my time has expired, and I yield back, Madam Chair.
Can I just say one quick thing? You mentioned the ground systems. You look at things like big experiments like LIGO and telescopes and stuff. People have to run those systems. They have to manage, maintain the HVAC systems on things like that. A lot of those people don't have a degree, they don't need a degree, but you need their tremendous skills. And so those folks are just as important to science as the scientists actually doing the work. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.